Okay, good morning. Welcome to
Math test number 11.
Math Test number 11. So you've picked a very interesting looking problem from your book this morning. It says, if t is greater than 0, what is the square root of 96t to the 6th?
So, well, square root of 96t to the 6th is really square root of 96 times square root of t to the 6th.
Okay.
And so let's see, the square root of t to the 6th is t cubed.
Okay.
And then the square root of 96. Well, 96 is 3 times 2 to the 5th, so it's 6 times 2 to the 4th. So this would, the square root of 96 would turn out to be 4 times the square root of 6. And then if you multiply that by t cubed, so you have 4t cubed times the square root of 6.
Wow. Okay.
Doesn't really look like there.
4t cubed times the square root of 6. Now, why did they ask, or why did they tell you that t was greater than 0 here?
Well, if t was negative, then it wouldn't really work, because then it would be a square root of a negative number.
Why?
Well, actually no. I guess it would work because you have t to the 6th.
Uh-huh.
You're multiplying t times t times t times t times t times t. And so you're multiplying t squared times t squared times t squared, and those are all positive.
Right.
So it would be a positive number.
Okay, so it would be a positive number. So if t is less than 0, the square root actually is still something you can do. But is that square root 4t cubed?
No.
Why?
That would be negative.
That would be negative.
So it has to be positive.
Yeah, what would the answer be if t was less than 0? How would the answer change?
Well, you'd have kind of a square root of a negative number, and then that would kind of fall apart.
Well, no, we already said that 96t to the 6th is positive.
Well,
If t is less than 0,
so the only thing that would, so you have, the only t's in the answer are t cubed, so that would, say, 4 times negative number, well, so 4 times the negative number would still be negative.
yeah.
So that would be negative 4t cubed times square root of 6.
So if t is negative, what's the only change you would make?
It would be less than 0.
This would be less than 0. So what do you have to do?
So this side would be negative here.
Right, that would be negative.
And then times the square root of 6.
Yeah. But it's negative, so our square roots of positive numbers are positive always, right? But somehow if t is less than 0, we get a negative here. So what do we need to do to make it positive?
We need to make t a positive number.
Well, that's what they did in the problem. But I'm telling you now, I'm changing the problem. I'm saying t is less than 0. So you can't make it a positive number because it's a negative number.
Yeah.
And you get this, you go through the algebra, and you get this answer. 4t cubed times the square root of 6. But you know this cannot be the right answer because this is a negative number. And this is positive. What's inside the square root is positive.
Yeah.
So how do I make this into a positive number? This whole expression here.
Well, you could square it.
I could, but would that be the square root anymore?
Well, no.
No. So the magnitude, the size of the number is right. So like if the answer was supposed to be 4, I'd get negative 4. And if the answer was supposed to be, whatever, like 100, I'd get minus 100. So how do I turn this into 4 or this into 100?
Well, you could multiply it by, that's squaring.
Yeah. What's the problem? If the answer was supposed to be 100, and what did I get?
You get negative 100.
Okay, so I don't want to square it, because I want the answer to say it'd be 100. So how can I turn minus 100 into 100?
You could like add 200,
Okay.
or like add twice the number.
I could add twice the number. All right. So what would I do here then?
So you would do. You would have to add 2 square root of 6 here, and then so you'd have to add would be 8t cubed.
But that's negative, because t is negative.
So that doesn't work really.
Well, it sort of does. But there's a really simple thing I can do to this, minus 100, to make it positive 100. Really simple.
You can multiply it by a negative 1.
Ah, okay. What happens when I multiply this by minus 1?
So you're multiplying a negative times a negative, so the negative sign goes away.
Okay. So what do I need to do to this
You
to
need to
make it?
multiply it by a negative 1.
Okay. And what's that expression going to look like when I multiply this by minus 1?
So you can 4, it would be negative 4t cubed times the square root of 6.
There you go.
Cool.
So if t was negative, I just have to make the answer positive, and the way I make it positive is by multiplying it by minus 1.
Cool.
Yeah, cool. So you do always have to be careful. Square roots always need to be
Positive.
positive by definition, or they can be 0.
Yeah.
They can be positive or 0, and if they're not, you just multiply by minus 1.
Cool.
All right? Good work, Ken. Good job.